once again it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome everyone to episode 135 of Toss the Tristain on Sports Show. Yes, it is your main man, T-Squared, Tristain Thomas. Thank you so very much for joining us. This week, we have to talk about those first place Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, first place, but not without their issues. In a good groove, but yes, they still have issues. We'll discuss. The Wisconsin Badgers, a lot of fervor around them, a lot of expectations on them. Big Ten Media Day just the other day. Luke Fickell, head coach, did a couple of things with one certain statement. We'll discuss. And the Green Bay Packers are back in town in training camp. Couple of news and notes there. And then the toss sweep. WNBA standings and my thoughts as we're halfway through that season. And Spence versus Crawford predictions. But you all know how we get things started here on Toss. We get things started with the state of the state. And once again, like I said in the rundown, we'll start with those first place Milwaukee Brewers. That's right. First place Milwaukee Brewers. Coming into Friday's action, 57-46, a game and a half lead over the Cincinnati Reds for first place in the Central, putting themselves in a good spot to win a division. If they have to be overtaken by the Reds, at least they would still be in wild card position as well. But obviously you will love to outright win your division as opposed to go through that wild card round. We've seen that is not very kind to the Brewers in that regard, but that is down the road. As I mentioned, coming into Friday night's action, they'll be playing the Braves. 57-46, 1.5 game lead over the Cincinnati Reds for first in the NL Central. 6-4 in their last 10. They were 7-3 in their last 10 before they dropped the game to the Reds a few days ago. Won the series 2-1, ended up blanking the Reds, shutting them out yet again. It seems like that's kind of a tradition like no other. The Brewers blanking and shutting out the Reds. But I digress. 6-4 in the last 10 ball games, and they seem to be in a good groove. It seems as the pitching is, like I said, the pitching is their strength. The pitching is this team's strength. It has been for years, and it continues to be. Did the bullpen have a hiccup in the past series against those Braves, especially in Julio Teheran's start against the Braves, his first ever start against the Braves? Gave the Brewers a quality start, went 6, left the game with that lead, and the bullpen coughed it up and lost it. But you got to give credit to the Braves. They're just a very, very good team. I mean, they're an outstanding team. But outside of that hiccup, bullpen has been doing their job. The starters have been doing their job. Corbin Burns is rounding himself back into shape of being that Cy Young Award winner after kind of a rough start to start the season. You got a really good start out of Willie Peralta. That's the name for way back. Fastball Freddie Peralta. It was like his first start all over again. 13 strikeouts. Got a no decision in that game, but the Brewers did get the win. Pitching is coming through. Pitching is doing the job. Brandon Woodruff just had a start with a single-A affiliate, Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, right here in Appleton, Wisconsin. So he's coming back. He's on the comeback trail. You're getting really good performances from the pitchers. The pitching was never the issue with this ball club. What is the issue with this ball club is the hitting. Consistent hitting. Now, one guy who was really a big culprit on that list for a few seasons there was Christian Yelich, but apparently not this season. Was not an all-star, probably should have been. But it seems as if he's kind of rounding himself back into shape, back into MVP form. Obviously not hitting for the same power and not the same run producer that we once knew him to be. Obviously not the high average hitter that we once knew him to be, but still very good this season. Again, coming into Friday night's action, 290, 15 home runs, 57 RBI, still making noise on the base paths with 22 stolen bases. He's still a factor. He's still having really good at-bats, drawing walks, getting on base, stealing those bases, helping to produce runs. He's doing his part. outside of the phenom, I guess you could call him, after his major league debut, and Sal Frelick, who went 3 for 3, 2 RBI, a run, a go-ahead sac fly in his major league debut, 2 phenomenal catches in the 6th inning, saved some runs. Outside of those 2 guys, nobody else has really been hitting very consistently. It still continues to be an issue. Rowdy Tellez, who's been in and out of the lineup because he's either been on the IL or he's just not been playable because his bat has just not been the same. Willy Adames has no business batting in the lineup where he's batting in the lineup because he's not a true run producer. He's a guy who's going to run into one a couple of times, put some runs up on the board. But this continues to be the bugaboo. And what have I said countless times? And I get sick of saying it, but I say it because it's true, and I'm going to keep saying it till we see some actual change. And I've said this whole statement before. You cannot come into the next season with that same offense. Can't do it. Cannot do it. But not only have they done it, not only that they continue to do it, they continue to trade for the same type of guys that are feast or famine. They traded for Pittsburgh first baseman Carlos Santana, not the guitar player, although that would have been awesome. Carlos Santana from the Pittsburgh Pirates, first baseman. Yes, you were desperate for first base play. Yes, he has been hitting much better as of late. But overall in the season, 235, 12 home runs. He's a switch hitter. You like that. Maybe you can get a matchup here and there, run into one from either side of the plate. But at the same time, it is in the same vein of all of the guys you currently have on your roster. Feast or famine. If you don't hit a home run, you're not producing runs. I mean, you've got to figure some things out here. Craig Counsell, very smart guy, but sometimes he sticks with something a little bit too long when it's just not working. It is very much in the same vein as Mike Budenholzer, former Milwaukee Bucks head coach. You put it out there. You see it's not working. It could possibly work if you make an adjustment here or there, and you refuse to do so. Everybody's excuse, well, they're in first place. Okay, well, Milwaukee had the number 1 seed. Look where that got them. Brewers, tops in the NL Central currently. But that can't be your only goal, is to finish first in your division. You have to have championship aspirations. And along the line, on that journey of trying to win a championship, you're going to have to make adjustments. I don't know what Craig Counsell does. I mean, I know he's trying to cook, but all of his ingredients are spoiled. I just don't understand why he hits certain guys in certain spots and just leaves them there when it just really does not work. But at the same time, these are the ingredients he's been given to cook with. And somehow, some way, and I think it's more so the division is kind of terrible. I know the Cubs have gotten hot. They've won their last 6. They've gotten themselves back to 500. Again, the Reds have been going back and forth with the Brewers for the tops in the division the entire time. I'm still waiting on that Cardinals run. Don't know if it'll happen this season, but you're always scared of that run. But by the skin of your teeth and a whole lot of luck, you're in first place. But at what point do you change your strategy? At what point do you stop trading for these feast or famine type guys? You're not always going to get the 2-run and 3-run home run to win you ball games. At some point, you're going to have to get some smart guys who can hit consistently, get on base, wreak havoc on the base paths, produce runs the old-fashioned way as opposed to trying to do the whole chicks dig the long ball thing. You have all the pitching in the world. And again, you're not going to have this wealth of pitching like this for much longer. You've got to do something with this. You can't have a lineup full of guys hovering above just barely above the Mendoza line. You can't have that. Again, people are going to argue they're in first place. Okay, well, what does first place get you come postseason? Nothing, because everybody's 0-0 all over again. But if you can't manufacture runs, if you don't have guys who are consistent hitters, you're not going to go anywhere. So yes, Brewers are in first place. You love to see it. But what you fear is that inconsistency with the bats is going to catch up with them. And it does not matter how good your defense is. It does not matter how good your pitching is. Sometimes you just cannot overcome a lack of offense, especially come postseason. Continuing here on Tall State of the State, we got to talk about Wisconsin Badgers football. Yes, that's right. Wisconsin Badgers football, Big Ten Media Day, held the other day in Indianapolis. Luke Fickell and a few players going down there, made themselves available for the media, obviously, because it's media days. Luke Fickell was asked a question during media day, and I found his answer to be very, very interesting because I felt that it did a couple of things. Instead of reading a whole quote to you, I'll just let him speak to you himself. This was Luke Fickell at Big Ten Media Days when asked this question.
One, and what are your expectations? So I think I'll just start off by answering a question that I know I've been asked so many times in the last 7 months, and I've already been asked it today. You know, the question that comes down to, hey, define what success looks like in year one, and what are your expectations, right? I mean, it's the pretty common thing I'll probably take away with most questions, right? We have one objective, and that's to play for a championship. I don't think that'll ever change, whether it's year one, year 2, 3, 4, or 5. That's what our objective is. And then you'd say, then I'll tell our guys as we start camp here next week that nobody outside of our team, nobody outside of the walls that which the guys that are there every single day that have everything invested will define what success looks like for us. And we cannot allow that. We can't allow fans. We can't allow students. We can't allow former players. We can't allow the media to define what success looks like within our program. But I'll tell you what I think success looks like. Success looks like, to me, when you play your best ball at the end of the year. When you play your best ball at the end of the year, you have an opportunity, and we will have an opportunity to play for a championship. But what does playing your best ball at the end of the year take? What takes an incredible amount of consistency. And in year one, and with new offenses and new there's a lot of things that have to be done. So the consistency, the ability to grow, right? To grow as individuals, to grow as players, to grow as a team is really critical in how the development will happen. And then our ability to handle adversity, which every one of us know, whether it's the start of camp or the start of the season, you're going to, no matter how your season is going, encounter adversity. That's the beauty of this game. How we handle that, how we have the ability to grow, how we have the ability to come together, the way that which we play in those last month of the season will really help me and our program define what it looks like and what it is as we move forward. So I think I'll just start.
That was Luke Fickell answering the question on what success looks like and so on and so forth. I will disagree with him on this. Although you can't let, media types, fans, former athletes, former Wisconsin Badgers define what success looks like for you. I will say this. If those calls get loud enough, and I'm talking from fans, I'm talking from boosters, I'm talking from former athletes who all have influence, media types who all have influence within those circles, if you're not producing at a level that you said you want to produce at, and they all feel that the team can produce at, if those calls get loud enough, you're going to find yourself out. Ask Paul Christ. Ask Brett Bielema, who left town, ran away before it could happen to him. So I will say that, like, yes, everybody will have their own idea on what success looks like. Obviously, if you say you're playing for a championship, then that's going to be the success that people are looking for you to bring to the table. So you can't preface it by saying, oh, well, we can't allow everybody outside the walls to define what success looks for us. Look, you're either winning championships like you said you wanted to. You're either in New Year's Six ball games like you're planning on being in, or you're not. And that's not highly successful. That's not the success that you just said that you want to have. So I'll disagree with him on that point, because all of that is an influence. Like, yes, I get what he's trying to do. I get that, it's coach speak. We can't let others define what success looks to us because we are the team. Okay, we get that, but there are decision makers and influencers out there that are going to hold you to that. And if you're not upholding the program and yourself and producing the results which you said that you're going to produce, what do you think is going to happen? So on that point, I will disagree with Coach Fickell, but he did two things with that statement. One, he set the expectation that there may be growing pains to start the season. It's important to remember what he said. He said success for him is when you're playing your best ball later in the season. So he's telling you flat out, hey, there may be growing pains to start this season, but we're going to get better as the season goes on and when it counts the most. We are going to, which is late in the season, we're going to be playing our best ball. That's a part of what success looks like to Coach Fickell and what he feels that success looks to the entire program. So he laid that expectation that, okay, there may be growing pains, but we plan on playing our best ball late in the season. Don't freak out. So he's already trying to soften that blow. Like, okay, if we get off to kind of a rough start, just understand that it's going to get greater later. We will be better. But just don't freak out. It's part of the process. So that's the first thing I felt that Coach Fickell did. The second thing, and we just went over it because I kind of disagreed with him on one part, but this is the second thing he did. He said that the champion, well, he didn't say it, but basically what his comments are saying, and this is the way I'm taking them. He's saying that the championship pedigree is being cultivated within that program. Because he said it. We plan on playing for championships. Now, obviously, he didn't specify what championship, but hopefully it's national championship. There's a lot of expectations on this team. A lot of expectations from Coach Fickell. The hires that he's made for his assistants, both offensively and defensively. The transfers that he's been able to bring into the program, including Mordecai at quarterback. These are moves you make when you take over one of the more successful programs in the nation, and Wisconsin has been that. Go and look at the numbers. And you too, you yourself was a highly successful football coach. And you bring in kind of that pedigree. Could have went anywhere, but you decided to come to the Badger State and take over a program. that has really good bones and build upon it. So needless to say, we're all excited for the season to begin for the Badgers. But we're also looking to see if Coach Fickell can actually back up his words. You put it out there. Now it's time for you to get to work. Continuing here on Toss, State of the State, let's go to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let's go and talk about the Green Bay Packers. Training camp is 3 days old. Jordan Love officially QB1. I think it's really cool that Aaron Rodgers reached out to Jordan Love and wished him well. You know, Jordan sat down behind him for 3 years and was able to absorb a lot. Regardless of how you feel about Aaron Rodgers off the field, there is no mistaking that on the field, he's one of the greatest to ever touch a football. One of the great Packers of all time, period. And it was funny because at the shareholders meeting, yes, the shareholders meeting, basically they had to step out in front of the owners, which are the people, give them a state of the program, basically. Mark Murphy was met with a splatter of boos and a splatter of applause when he said that, you know, Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest Packers, and he wanted to thank Aaron Rodgers. He said, you know, Aaron was a great player for us for 18 years. He said he's a Hall of Famer. He said they will bring him back, tire his jersey, you know, at the appropriate time. Some of the owners booed, and some of them clapped. Mark Murphy is absolutely correct on this point about Aaron Rodgers. He is one of the greatest players to ever touch a football. He is one of the great Green Bay Packers. Great player for 18 years for this franchise. Again, regardless of how you felt about his last few years, regardless about how you feel about him off the field, you can feel about him however you feel about him. We're talking about on the field. One of the greatest of all time. And he's going to go. He took his talents to the Jets. Took a pay cut. That caused a little bit of a controversy, but whatever. Everybody has moved on to Jordan Love, as good Packer fans do. The same way they moved from Brett Favre and got behind Aaron Rodgers. People are doing the same thing with Jordan Love, and you have to expect growing pains. This is a guy who was never QB1 for more than a week. Now he's in his first training camp as QB1. He's the starter. All eyes on him. He's the leader. Guys are on the team are already rallying behind him. They've got his back, and you love to see it. That is what you need. But Mark Murphy is absolutely correct about Aaron Rodgers in this regard. He was a great Packer, and he should have his number retired. Absolutely, he should have. Kept his team in constant contention for world championships, won a world championship, broke a lot of records. His career's not over. He's continuing in New York, but still. Did a lot for Green Bay. You have to realize that. You have to respect that. Celebrate it. When appropriate, like Mark Murphy said. But make sure you get behind your QB1. The other guy's in New York now. He's a Jet. You got a young quarterback who has had 3 years of studying behind one of the greatest of all time. You got to give him a chance. You got to get behind him, give him your love, no pun intended, and support. But at the same time, don't disparage the guy before him. Again, feel how you want to about what he does off the field. But on the field, he is undeniable. Now, Mark Murphy also said something else about Aaron Rodgers. So LaFleur, and I've said this myself, and I've had people who have corroborated that. Matt LaFleur will push back on this until the day he dies, right? He's pushed back on kind of the feel that, oh, well, we really haven't seen your true offense because Rodgers will put the kibosh on whatever play you put in at the line of scrimmage. And I'm here to tell you that, again, I've been told by multiple people, more times than not, that is exactly what's happened. Now, LaFleur will say, oh, no, that's not the case, and X, Y, Z. More times than not, Rodgers was doing his own thing out there. He was changing the play. I'm not saying 100% of the time, but more times than not, he was changing the play. Now the feel is with Jordan Love, he's a young guy. He hasn't been the QB1 again for more than 1 week. It's his show now. Now we're going to really see a guy who's a little bit more coachable, a guy who is going to have to go with that script from the head coach because he doesn't quite have that same experience as an Aaron Rodgers under center, going up against the starters week in, week out. Now we're going to see LaFleur's true offense. LaFleur will push back on it. He's like, you've always seen our true offense, which anybody with eyes, anybody who studies the tape understands that we really did not, because we know what that offense can be. Go look at San Francisco. Green Bay is trying to build their offense to be in their line exactly the same way San Francisco is. We know what that offense could be. Mark Murphy, on the other hand, said exactly what we all said and what we all see. Saying, quote, a little bit of match true offense. We will see a little bit of match true offense this season, end quote. And I tend to agree. Again, for every reason that I just mentioned. You no longer have Aaron Rodgers on the center. Aaron Rodgers, who's seen it a lot, done a lot. He was pretty much running his own show out there. More times than not, I will say that. And again, I've corroborated that. Now with Love, again, young guy, QB1 all the time for the first time in his career. Not quite as experienced as an Aaron Rodgers. A bit more coachable in that regard. He's going to have to stick to the script a bit more in that regard until he starts to get comfortable and kind of master this offense. Not to say that he doesn't know the offense completely. He's been under LaFleur's tutelage the entire time. It's not as if he does not know this offense, but it's a different thing. It's one thing to know the offense. It's a different thing to execute the offense. Those are two different things. You can know it from the back, but if you can't go out there and execute, it doesn't matter what you know. If you cannot go out there and execute, you might as well just go ahead and be a coach and teach the guys how to do it, because those guys can go and execute where you can't. So do I feel we'll see more of Matt LaFleur's true offense this season? Yes. 100% yes. I've studied enough tape, watched enough games to know that most of those calls that came into the headset of Aaron Rodgers in his time with Green Bay, with Matt LaFleur as head coach, were not the plays that we saw run. There was something completely different. So it will be interesting to see. I mean, they've gone with the youth movement. I think the average age on this squad is about 25 years old. So they have definitely gotten younger. A lot of young guys who are going to learn together, who are going to grow together, who are going to win together. It is really exciting to see training camp, one of my favorite times of the year, because you get to see the story, the beginning of the story of the team. How is the roster going to be shaped? How is this team going to be shaped? How are they going to come together? What are they going to try to do? What type of team are they going to try to be? The story has begun. It's exciting to think about. And I'm excited to see what Love can do this season in a true Matt LaFleur offense. And that's the state of the state. Brewers, yeah, they're in first place, but they still are trading for feast and famine guys, Carlos Santana being the latest. That offense is it's not going to carry them very, very far unless some guys get a hell of a lot more consistent. The Badgers, Luke Fickell, setting the groundwork. Hey, we may struggle early on in the season, but we will play our best ball late in the season, and we're going to be playing for championships. The championship pedigree is now being cultivated in Madison. And the Green Bay Packers, their story has begun. Jordan Love, QB1. But don't disparage the things that Aaron Rodgers has done on the field in his time as the Green Bay Packers. Appreciate it for what it is, but get behind your QB1, Jordan Love. It's time for us to run the toss sweep. Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow. Your home for Toss on Facebook. That's right, Toss on Facebook, touching on a lot of things there that we don't necessarily get a chance to hear on this program. That's Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow. That's TON Sports Show. Ooh, y'all, we got a mega fight coming this weekend. Hell, tomorrow, as we record this program on a Friday. Got all sorts of things going on. Rain in the background, thunderstorming. I love a good summer storm. Had some technical snafus with that Luke Fickell clip. Sorry about that. But we got a mega fight going, coming up. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, on Saturday, July 29th. Is that the 29th? Let me go ahead and check this watch here. Yeah, the 29th. Errol Spence versus Terrence Bud Crawford. A fight that I have been wanting for years. A fight that fight fans all around the world have been wanting for years. Is finally going to happen Saturday night, July 29th, 2023. Y'all, it is just going to be a hell of a fight. Errol Spence, no slouch. Terrence Bud Crawford, at one point in time, number one pound for pound in the world. If I have to make a prediction currently right now, I would have to go Bud Crawford. And let me tell you why. Because Bud Crawford always finds a way. Now, that's not to say that Errol Spence doesn't. Errol Spence does as well. But it's different with Bud Crawford because it's just he's constantly studying every single round. Like, yeah, he's going to try to go and implement his game plan, set tone, jab, switch up his stance. But he figures you out round by round. And he just always finds a way where it looks like, okay, he may be struggling in the earlier rounds. As the fight goes on, if it does go wrong, if it does go long, because he will get in there and try to finish his opponent when he has to. But he always just figures it out, and it's just amazing to watch because it looks like, oh man, he's down, he's out of it. Like it's slow, it's not really. This isn't really being effective. Like, what is he trying to do? And then he starts implementing and he starts attacking and he starts picking his opponent apart. Like, oh, he started to figure this guy out. Oh, he figured this dude out. Oh, it's a wrap now. And usually he wins. Unblemished record. So I will take his ability to figure his opponent out every single time. Obviously, his skills are unmatched. I got Bud Crawford. That's my dog. But I'm looking forward to a hell of a fight, y'all. This is what I mean. Just give fight fans the fights that they need, the fights that they've been asking for, they're pining for, they're screaming for. And we're finally getting this one. And I can't wait for it. You know what I realized, y'all? I realized that the WNBA season has started. We're over halfway through it. They've already played their all-star game, which was a lot of fun, by the way. Especially the all-star festivities the day before. Sabrina Ionescu with her three-point shootout performance. Oh, my goodness. Damn near perfect. But the season is over, halfway over, a 40-game season. And I realized that I didn't even do a whole preseason preview. And that's my bad because I love the WNBA. Love hoops. I love the WNBA. It just, the more stars are coming to the league, they're starting to ball out. It's a lot more competitive. It's just, I love the league. I've always loved it. I've been watching it since the first game. Sparks Liberty, Penny Toller hitting the first basket. Okay, I've been down with it for that long. Well, let's go to the standings, see where things lie. And you got to remember, it does not go by conference affiliation as far as playoffs go. WNBA, you take the top 8 players regardless of conference, and you play a regular format. It's a best of 3 for the first round, best of 5 for every subsequent round after that, including the finals. And my squad, y'all know, Las Vegas is a second home to me. My squad, the Aces, on top at currently 22-2. They seem like a real runaway train right now. The team right behind them, the New York Liberty, yeah, they get off to kind of a rough start. You had some pieces trying to figure themselves out. You know, Sabrina was like, okay, where do I fit into all this? Stewie is Stewie. She's phenomenal. But one person who really is, I feel even to a point now is still trying to figure themselves out, former MVP in Jonquel Jones. And she's had some her bright spots, but it's like, is she sacrificing more than the other two? I mean, she's got to get hers too for this team to go where they want to go. I see them clashing with the Aces in the finals, but we'll see if that comes to fruition. But right now, currently in second at 18-6. The Sun right behind them at 18-6. That people felt after that trade, that Jonquel Jones trade, and Kurt Miller leaving, going over to the Sparks, that it was just going to fall apart, and it didn't. Alyssa Thomas balling out, DeWanna Bonner balling out. They still got a hell of a team there at Connecticut. Dallas is a team that I said would take a step forward from last season, and it seems like they are. 14-10. They're in the 4th spot currently. The Atlanta Dream. Remember the Atlanta Dream, they're not that far removed from a WNBA Finals appearance. Have fallen on some tough times, but they seem to be trying to get it back together, 13-11. Currently the 5 seed. Washington is a team that I felt would be dangerous if healthy, and that's the problem. They have not been healthy. Shakira Austin missing time. Now EDD, Elena Deladon is missing time, and that's really hurt them tremendously. Sitting there at 500, 12-12 in the 6th spot. 7th spot belonging currently to Minnesota, who got a big win tonight against the Liberty at that. You just knew that when Nafisa Collier came back, you know, she became a mother, and she came back with a couple games remaining last season, which is just mind-blowing to me. Still, to this point, it's just mind-blowing to me that she came back. She had a child, and she came back that same season and was able to play a few games. But you knew with a healthy Collier, and you know, she was healthy and ready to go, the team would be much better. Well, they're currently hanging on to that 7th spot. They're under 500, but they're currently hanging on to that 7th spot. The 8th spot is where it's going to be interesting. The Chicago Sky, they lost their head coach and GM, James Wade, to the Toronto Raptors. And you can't hate James Wade for that. I mean, he brought them a championship, was a good coach for them, a good GM for them. But his desire was to go to the NBA and raise in those ranks, and he's chasing that dream. You can't be mad at him about that. They're hanging on to that 8th spot, way under 500, 9-15 currently. Tied with the Sparks currently, also 9-15. That's going to be very, very interesting. And even at 6-17 and 6-18 and 5-19 with Phoenix, Indianapolis, Indiana and Seattle, respectively, are those teams too far out of it? I don't know. But if you're going to be 9-15, 40-game season, if one of those teams gets hot, they could be overtaken. Now, do I foresee Phoenix doing it? Not really, not the way they've been playing. They fired their coach, Vanessa Nygaard, earlier in the season after a 2-10 start. Indiana has just been wildly inconsistent. Seattle, you lose Stewie, Jewel Lloyd. She's been going off. Jewel Lloyd has been going off, but, I mean, not much else outside of her. But, I mean, if anybody gets hot, I mean, again, the Sky are 9-15. The Sparks are also 9-15. That 8th spot is for the taking. Yeah, that is definitely up for grabs. But again, I said it before and I'll say it again. You can go check on the Facebook page, facebook.com/TOnSportsShow. I said that any game between the Aces and the Liberty, who will play for the Commissioner's Cup. The Aces Commissioner's Cup champion, defending after beating the Sky last season. They will clash for the Commissioner's Cup here soon. Any game between those two, I feel, is going to be a WNBA Finals playoff, WNBA Finals preview. I just feel that way. A team that could throw a wrinkle into all those plans, Connecticut. I feel Connecticut is really the one true threat that could ruin those plans. Dallas, again, they're taking consistent steps forward. I just don't see them being on the same level as a Connecticut, as a New York, to go up against those Aces. The Aces are so good. They're playing way better defense. Offensively, I mean, who do you stop? If you take away Wilson, you got to deal with Jackie. You got to deal with Chelsea. You got to deal with Kelsey. Who do you got to deal with? You would have to deal with Candace Parker, but she's out with that foot injury. So, who do you stop? How do you stop them? That it's just a puzzle that only two teams have been able to figure out on those particular nights. But some good action being, going on in the WNBA, some good play happening in the WNBA. Y'all better go and watch y'all some women's basketball, man. You got some use out. If a guy like Dwayne Wade can go ahead and invest in a team, become a partial team owner, it's something special going on in that league, man. It's a really high quality play going on in the WNBA, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season unfolding and seeing if my playoff prediction is going to be right. I'm looking forward to a clash between the Aces and the Liberty, but we will see if that comes to fruition. Well, y'all, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is episode 135 of Talk Tristain on Sports Show. You know where to find me on social media, at the20double on Instagram, on Twitter. And guess what? Find me on Threads as well. You know where to find your boy. Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow. That's TON Sports Show, your home for the Toss on Facebook page. We touch on a lot of things there that we don't get a chance to here on the show. That's Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow. That's TON Sports Show. And of course, TossNationMedia.com, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports is what you deserve. Season premiere of Packers Quick Toss coming soon. Another season of Packers Quick Toss all 18 games, I will have predictions. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. It's been T Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. I'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Until then, so long from Toss.